Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Jeff and Paper Gary. Today is Sunday, June 28th. Just got back from a little field trip to my friend's shop to bend some brackets that are around here somewhere for that trim tab servo. So hopefully those worked out right. The first batch that I made were not right. So I made a second batch and those came out much better. So hopefully those things are within tolerance and they'll fit and we don't have clearance issues. If not, I'll be back to his shop making a third set. Today we're going to press forward with the trim tab servo mounting, and I've got some friends hopefully showing up here around 1 o'clock to do the rolling of the leading edges of both the elevators. So that will be fun. Stay tuned. Let's see what we learn.
So I'll tell you up front, what we learned is that I recorded a whole lot of crappy video. Some of this stuff just didn't work, and I ended up throwing most of the recordings out because they just weren't up to quality. But the important part of this video is the rolling of these leading edges, and this is sometimes this is kind of a difficult thing, and it's not really easy, but it's not all that difficult either. I just contradicted myself a lot there. I will say when we did this on the Rudder, it was very difficult to get through the learning curve. And you may remember, if you're following along with my videos, that I mentioned after doing the Rudder that I felt like you should put the pipe down into the spar area and form the metal around the pipe rather than rolling it. There's some truth to that, but not a lot of truth to that. So in here, when doing these very small sections near the outboard edge, that's what we did. And I have a little piece of wood trim that you may have noticed that went in there to lift the pipe up just a little bit, and then I rolled the aluminum around it, and that worked really well and really easy until you got to the other side, and then it was really difficult to get your hands in there and your fingers in there and roll that over, and then it got even more difficult when you had a longer piece of metal, because of course there's more resistance there, it's harder to form, and that didn't really work well. So my friend Mike and I here, as we did some trial and error, we realized that rolling this really is the way to go do this. And we put that piece of wood in there with some clamps to kind of help keep things straight, keep the pipe from moving. But ultimately what we rested on is that taping this and rolling it, like you've heard others do, really is the way to go. Now, I have seen some people that drill a bunch of holes in their pipe and they use clecos and they pull those things over. I wasn't really a big fan of that. Metal's soft and this metal is thin, and you have to put a lot of torque on these things. And I would be concerned that we would elongate those holes if we weren't careful. So I didn't want to do that. The other thing that I realized is that if you tape this pipe, this is like 1.5 inch PVC with some holes drilled in the end so we can get a punch in there and get some leverage on it. If you tape the pipe just below the rivet line where the holes are, it rolls really nicely and still leaves a flat surface where your two ends are going to mate. So what I did the first time we did the Rudder was I taped it right at the edge, and it curled the entire area. And then my two places where I had to rivet together were curled under, and I had to bend them back flat. So by dropping this down just a little bit so that you tape it a little bit lower, alleviates that problem. Now, you'll also notice that as that spar gets wider, when you roll this, it has to change a little bit, and you end up getting it close, but you have to do some manual hand manipulation to the metal afterward to get those things to come together, because there'll be a little gap. And I've got some pictures later on that'll show that a little bit more. But you can really only get so close to these things, I think, and then you're due for some hand manipulation and some of those things to get it to the final resting place. The other thing that I want to mention, especially important on the elevators, more so than the rudders, is fold the top skin over the bottom skin, just so it doesn't have a chance to collect water later on, right? When you have that bottom skin over the top skin, there leaves a chance to get water intrusion there. So here are a couple pictures. You'll see there's a really nice uniform roll here, no creases along that spar, which is really important that you hold that pipe back. And so as my friend Mike is twisting the pipe, I'm holding the pipe back or pulling it up, as the directions say, so that you don't get that crease along the spar. But overall, these things rolled really nicely. It takes very little effort to get them to mate up flat, and I'll get some rivets in there later. So just wanted to share an update with you. Take your time on these things. Be patient. Do it with 2 people. Get some Gorilla Tape. And if you have any questions, give me a shout. Thanks, everyone.